Okay, so thanks for joining me this morning, Stefano. I'd like to hear a little bit about the research that you've been doing within the Creative.eu project, which is about the use of trademarks, particularly in the creative and cultural industries. Could you start by telling me why you did the study on trademarks in these industries?
Well, the most important motive behind the choice of studying trademarks was to explore their potential as indicators of innovation. And the problem is that there is a large array of innovative activities, such as those involving, I don't know, the implementation of new marketing methods, changes in product design, and so on, which are simply not captured by the most commonly used indicators of innovation, like R&D expenditures and patents. From a theoretical point of view, there are several reasons to expect that trademarks can be used as a measure of market introduction of new or differentiated products. Trademarks are essentially the legal counterparts of brands. So any sign, words, images, sounds that identifies products or services in a given market can be registered as trademarks. This means that any type of manufactured product, process, or service is susceptible to be protected by trademarks. And obviously, all these characteristics are particularly relevant in the case of creative and cultural industries, where the prevalent aesthetic and intellectual nature of new products and services prevents the use of patents. On the other hand, studies investigating the validity of trademarks as innovation indicators for the specific case of cultural industries are simply not there yet. For this reason, we decided to focus our research on investigating how companies in different industries, including, of course, creative ones, use trademarks if they use them at all.
Okay, so thank you. So what in particular did you do as part of this research study?
Well, in this work package, we followed actually two complementary approaches to investigate the use of trademarks in creative industries. One approach we adopted was more at the sectoral and macro level. In that sense, we built an original and extensive database on patents and trademarks by European companies. This database has been obtained by joining three sources of information at the company level, namely the European Patent Office database, which provides information on European patent applications, the Office for Harmonization of Internal Market database, which provides information on community trademarks, and the Orbis database, which provides financial and economic information at the firm level. Overall, this database contains information on around 250,000 firms, having at least one trademark or one patent, and located in one of the EU 28 countries. The database has been used to investigate patterns of use of trademarks and patents across different industries. On the other hand, the second approach we adopted was more at the micro level, and in that respect, we implemented a survey of around 500 companies in selected creative industries, ranging from advertising to media. And in particular, the purpose of the survey was to understand the motives to trademark and not to trademark, and the effects that trademarks have on companies and markets.
Okay, so excellent. So the data gathering or data integration effort seems like a huge amount of work and labor. So what in particular did you find from the studies that you undertook?
One first interesting result, let's say at the more macro level, was that we found that the growth in the number of community trademarks in creative industries over the last 15 years or so has been far greater than in all other industries, which can be interpreted as a sign of innovative vitality of this set of industries. At the same time, we also observed many differences across creative industries in terms of propensity to use trademarks. So the propensity to use trademarks by companies is quite high in fields like radio and TV, publishing, information technology, video, film, and music. On the other hand, the propensity to apply and use trademarks tends to be very low in fields such as visual and performing arts, photography and translation, and architecture and design. Moreover, compared to other industries, the trademarks owned by creative firms tend to be rather narrow in the sense that they refer to a limited number of product areas. That means that companies in creative industries tend to be very specialized and focused in few products. Finally, we estimated some regression models trying to capture in a very exploratory way the impact of a shock in trademarking activity in creative industries on macro quantities such as GDP and unemployment. And the results of this analysis, though quite preliminary, are quite interesting, and they seem to suggest that this impact is quite sizable and relatively more important than a corresponding shock in other industries. The other set of results we obtained come from the survey, and the results of the survey show that trademarks are used in creative industries mostly for marketing and protection reasons. Only few companies actually use trademarks to strengthen their position with respect to external actors such as investors, suppliers, and competitors. At the same time, consistently with the macro results, the survey finds that most of the companies examined do not own any trademark. And among the motives for not using trademarks, the most important one mentioned by respondents is that they choose not to trademark because they use copyrights instead. And for those companies that did apply for trademarks, these most important benefits were related to helping marketing new products and to the role of trademarks in building a reputation for quality.
Okay, so thank you very much. This is a very detailed study. What do you think might be the more general implications of your findings?
Well, the first important implication of our findings is that as far as the use of patents and trademarks are concerned, creative industries represent a highly different set of activities. They comprise sectors that rely heavily on patents and trademarks, such as IT, R&D, engineering, sectors that make intensive use of trademarks but not patents, such as radio and TV, publishing, and video, film, and music, and sectors that do not use either trademarks or patents, but protect themselves essentially through copyrights, such as visual and performing arts, photography, translation, architecture, and design. These differences within cultural and creative industries should be kept in mind when designing policies. For example, pushing the use of more intellectual property rights for the sake of it might be very inefficient. For many companies, even in these industries, copyrights are just enough. And perhaps what would be interesting to understand further is whether copyrights and trademarks can somehow complement each other. A second important lesson is that most firms use trademarks because of their signaling value. And if this is the case, then this value should be somehow protected. For example, trying to push trademarking by lowering barriers to registration, like many trademark offices are considering, is likely to be counterproductive. Fundamentally, it might decrease the value of any single trademark. And finally, I may say that the results of our work package suggest that trademarks may represent a good indicator of innovation in some creative industries, but not in others. And at the same time, further research is needed to understand the real economic value of these trademarks. So registering trademarks is not enough. Unless companies are able to actively extract value from them, trademarks are basically useless.